Right, in the very Patangam, whatever I go on, that was something else. So make the Patangan the Vene, like results release money, release money. Customer dog in a come fan, stress second the end, then how to pass it. My the name results. එක වෙනදී හැමෝටම ඉතින් එක විදිහේ වෙන්නේ නැහැනේ. like මම රිසර්ච් කරන ඉන්ඩිවිජුවලි අහන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද සමහර කෙනෙක් ගන්නවා. සමහර කෙනෙක් දැක්කා. ඒ නමුත් ඕල් රිසර්ච් එක doesn't matter. like ඒ නිසා අත්තම නැහැ. ඉතින් දෙම තමයි නෝ 9 days ද 8 days ද මම සතේ වැඩක් නැහැ. ඒක වලට. ඒක හොඳයි. නැත්නම් ඔයගොල්ලෝ මම ඒක appreciate කරනවා. ඒගොල්ලෝගේ කරපු මහන්සිය ඒක හොඳයි මම ඒක මේ අව탁සිරු කරනව නෙවෙයි right but මම කියන්නේ ඔය ගත්ත දැන් ඔයා මේ වෙනකම් ගෙනාවු මේ රිසල්ට් එක ඇත්තටම ඒ රිසල්ට් ඒක ඉෆෙක්ටිව් වෙන්නේ ඒ රිසල්ට්ත් ඒක ඒ රිසල්ට් එක ඒකෙන් ඉලුමිනේට් වෙනවා නම් එහෙම ඒ රිසල්ට් එකත් හොඳ වෙන්න ඕනේ 3 years ගන්න ඕනේ නැත්තම් 9 years වැඩක් නෑ 9 years and 3 years ඕන තරම් ඕන තරම් මම කරන කාලේ අපේ ක්ලාස් එකේ 9 years ගත්ත ළමයි 3 years ගත්තම ඊට සෑහෙන 3-4 දෙනෙක් හිටියා. හරි. එහෙම වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා 9 years කියන එකෙන් එක්සැම්පලයිස් වෙන්නේ you can do this කියන එක. මේක A level එකේ science class කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක. 9 years හරි ඕන තරම් ඇලවෙන කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා. නැත්නම් අපි කියනවා මේක මේ හිර වෙන කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා. හැබැයි 3 years 2 years එහෙම ගන්න නේද? 5 years ඒ වගේ රිසල්ට් අරගෙන හොඳ රිසල්ට් එකක් ගන්න අවශ්‍යයිව engineering medicine කරන ළමයි ඕන තරම් ඉන්නවා. right ඒ නිසා හැමෝම ඉන්නේ එකම starting line එකේ. right then potentials වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් දැන් මෙතනදී energies වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ හැමෝම ඉන්නේ race එකේ එකම start line එකේ ඉන්නේ. කොහොමද දැන් හැමෝටම all of we have same equal opportunities. හැමෝටම එකම chance එක තියෙනවා. race එක දුර විදියට තමයි මේක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ. හරි ඔයා කොහොමද වැඩ කරන්නේ කොච්චර ඩෙඩිකේෂන් එකක් මේකට වගේ තියනවද කොච්චර වා සැක්‍රිෆයිස් කරනවද මේකට කියන එක අනුව තමයි රිසල්ට් එක ඩිසයින් වෙන්නේ ඒ නිසා 9 years ගත්තා හොඳයි බට් ඒක ගැන ඔයගොල්ලෝ වැඩිපුර ප්‍රවුඩ් වෙන්න එපා කියනකොට 9 years ගත්තකොට 3 years nothing කියලා හිතන්න පුළුවන් නේ ඔය 9 years ගන්නවා දුන්න ඉෆෙක්ට් එක ඔයා දැම්ම ඒ කරපු program එක වගේ 10-20 times more work you need to do here. කරන්න more than that. හරි 10 times 20 times වැඩි වුණොත් නිසා කර වෙන්නේ. ඔයාලා ඔය 9 years ගන්න ඒ ධම්ම ඒ effect එක අපේ physics වල mechanics lesson එකට ඊට වඩා දාන්න ඕනේ effect එකක්. හරි ඒක කොට දාන්න. චරට මේක hard work කරන්න ඕනේ. මේක මේ ඉන්න දෙනවා. ඒ නිසා always වල වගේ final month එකේ final 2 month එකේ නේද? 3 months මම මේක ටික් කරනවා කියලා කරන්න බෑ. දැම්ම එහෙම කරන්න බෑ. මේක මුලින් ඉඳන් කන්ටිනියුස් යන්න ඕන වැඩක්. අන්තිම මාසයේ වැඩ මම ඔරල් කරේ මම විභාගයට කලින් දවසේ බලලා කරා. එහෙම මේක බෑ. ඒ මනම් මෙන්ෂන් කෙනෙක් වෙන්න ඕනවා. මේක එහෙම කරන්න බෑ. මේක ඔයාලගේ ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් එකක් day by day වෙන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් එකපාරට වලට මේක එන්නේ නැහැ. හරි ඒක නිසා මේ රිසල්ට්ස් ගැන සතුටු වෙන්න ෆැමිලි එකේ අය සතුටු වෙති. නේද? ලෝකෙ ගොඩක් කියලා එකම නෙවෙයි නේද? හැබැයි හොඳම රිසල්ට් එක ඇත්තම ට්‍රූ රිසල්ට් එක එන්නේ ඒ රිසල්ට් එකෙන් තමයි එන්නේ. ඒක තමයි අවුට්පුට් එක. මේක නිකන් just nice thing I have 9 days in my GC always කියලා ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ නේද බ්‍රෑන්ච් ටයිටල් කියන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ කාලෙක නේද? මොන දුරට කියන්න පුළුවන් මේ මොන 9 years ගත්තා කියලා. ඒක කියන්න පුළුවන්. ඕනම් පෙන්නන්න සර්ටිෆිකේට් එකක් තියෙනවා. nothing beyond that. නේද? 9 years ගත්තා කියලා ඔයාලට එහෙම job opportunity එකක් ගත්තොත් ඒත් එහෙම නෑ. එහෙම නෑනේ ඉස්සර බෑ නෑ. ඒ ඩිමාන්ඩ් එක නෑ. right ඒ නිසා මේ මම ඒක වැරදි හිතන්න එපා සර් මේක හරියම කන්ඩක්ට් කරන්න නෑ. එහෙම නෙවෙයි කන්ඩක්ට් කරන්න නෑ. මම කියන්නේ 9 years ගත්ත අය you must be very careful to maintain that level. නැත්තම් අර දැන් ඒ 3ක් 4ක් අරගත්තා නම් මේක රිසල්ට් එකක් කවුරු වුණාට ලොකු කොට ඒකට කියන්නේ මේ ළමයා ඕලෙවල්ස් වලත් එහෙමයි එහෙම කියලා කියන්නේ. හැබැයි 9 years අරගෙන රිසල්ට් අවුරුද්දට ඕලෙවල්ස් වල නම් අරයා මෙහෙමයි කරේ එහෙමයි කියන්නේ. දැන් මොකද නැහැ. ඒ නිසා ඕගොල්ලෝ හරි මුක්කයා. ඕගොල්ලෝ හරියටම වැඩේ මේ අතාරින්නතෝ කරන්න යනවා. ඕගොල්ලෝ වැඩි රෙස්පොන්සිබිලිටි එකක් තියෙනවා. දැන් මේක මේන්ටේන් කරන් යන්නේ ඔයාලගේ තියෙන ලෙවල් එක. ලෙවල් එක මේන්ටේන් අනිත් අය ලෙවල් එක අප් කරගෙන අර ගොල්ලෝ පාස් කරන යන්න ඕනේ. මේකත් කම්පිටිෂන් එකක් තියෙනවා. හරි. ඒ නිසා මේ ඒක ගැන හිතන්න. හරි දැන් ඕගොල්ලන්ට මේ මේක කරලා රෙඩි කරගෙන කියලානේ ලස්සනට day by day ටික කරගෙන එන්න මේක never give up මේක අතාරින්න එපා. මොනවා කියලා අධ්‍යයනය කරන්න තියෙනවා ග්‍රිප් එක අධ්‍යයනය දාන්න බෑ. classes continuous එන්න attendance තියාගන්න. ඒකට උනන්දු ආසාවෙන් තියාගන්න මේ වැඩේ කරන්න පුළුවන්. එච්චරයි ඔය. හරි වැඩ මග අරින්න එපා. ස්කිප් කරන්න එපා. හෙට කරන්න එහෙම එකක් කරන්න එපා. දැන් කරන්න. මම හෙට ඉඳන් ස්ටඩි කරනවා කියලා බලන්න එපා. දැන් ඉඳන් ස්ටඩි. දැන් හෙට කරන්නෙත් නෑ හෙට ඉඳන් ඒවට. දැන් කරනවා කියලා දැන් කරගත්තොත් නම් හෙට කරන්නේ නෑ. එහෙම කල් දාන්න එපා. හරි ඒ දවස්වල වැඩ ටික කරලා කම්ප්ලීට් කරලා වැඩ ටික ඉවර කරගන්න. එහෙම වුණොත් තමයි මේක ඔයාගේ ඕල් රිසල්ට් එකට වඩා ඒල රිසල්ට් එක තමයි එළියට යන්නේ. කැම්පස් එකට ගියාට පස්සේ ඕල් එක අහන්නේ. යුනිවර්සිටි ගියාට පස්සේ අහන්නේ නෑ. ඒ ලෙවල් තමයි අහන්නේ. රිසල්ට් එක මොකක්ද? රිසල්ට් එක අහනවා ඩිපෙන්ඩ්. ඕල් රිසල්ට් එක අහන්නේ නෑ. එහෙනම් ඔය ඉංග්‍රීසි වලට නම් පොඩ්ඩක් බලනවා සමහර මේ ජොබ් දෙනකොට එහෙම ක්වොලිෆිකේෂන් ඉංග්‍රීසි එකක් තියෙනවා කැම්පස් එකෙන් මොකක් කරේ එහෙම අහනවා මට මතකයි ඕල්ස් වල ඉංග්‍රීසි එක ප්‍රින්ට් එකක් තියෙනවද මොනවා එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ අරගෙන නැත්නම් ඒක ලොකු දෙයක් නෙවෙයි. හරි. ඒතර ඔය ඉතින් ඕල්ස් තමයි තිබ්බ ලොකුම එක්සෑම් එකක් කියලා හිතෙන්ද මේක. දැන් තේරුණා මේක ටර්ම් ටෙස්ට් එකක් කරන්න ඕන දෙයක් නෑ කියලා. ප්‍රින්ට් ටෙස්ට් එකක් දෙන්න තියෙන්නේ. හරි ෆස්ට් ටර්ම් ටෙස්ට් එකේ තියෙන්නේ. ඕල්ස් කියන ඕල්ස් එක මේ ඉරල්ගේ ටර්ම් ටෙස්ට් එක කරනවත් එහෙම මේ දෙයක් නෑ. ඒකේ ඉතර රේට් එකක්වත් නැති වෙන්නේ. ඒක නිසා දැන් ටික අපි ඇඩ්වාන්ස් එක කියන්නේ දැන් ඕඩිනරි වල ඇඩ්වාන්ස් වලට යනවා. So ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඇඩ්වාන්ස් එක කරනවා. ස්ටෙප් දෙක තුනක් ඉස්සරහට එන්න. තාම වල ග්‍රේඩ් ලෙවල් එකේ ඉන්න එපා. ගොඩක් අය ඒකයි ගොඩක් අය වැඩ නොකර හිටියොත් ග්‍රේඩ් 11 තමයි 13 වෙනකොට 11 ලෙවල් එකේ ඉන්නේ. හරි. ඒතර ඔය 13 ලෙවල් එකේ අවුරුදු සමහරද කියලා පස්සේ. ඒතර තමයි ඒ ලෙවල් එක. ඒතර ඉතින් වැඩේ ඉවරයි. හරි. පහුවෙන නිසා දැම්ම මොකද මේ එක්කම මේ ක්ලාසස් අපේ මේ ටයිම් එකත් එක්කම ඔබ ඩෙවලොප් වෙනවා. ඒවද? මේ ෆස්ට් පළවෙනි ඉයර් එකේ තමයි ඕන ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් පීරියඩ් එක. ඔයාලා බ්‍රේන් එක ඩෙවලොප් කරගෙන යනවා ඊට පස්සේ ආයෙ ඩෙවලොප් වෙන්න කියලා ලොකු දෙයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. නිසා මේ අවුරුද්ද හાર્ඩ් වර්ක් කරන්න. right it will be paid off later. අන්තිම අවුරුද්ද ඊට පස්සේ ඔයාලට හරි ලේසි. කන්ද නැගගෙන යන තින් මේ ෆස්ට් 1.5 years ඊට පස්සේ උඩින් කීක් එක දාලා පස්සේ ඔයාලට මේන්ටේන් කරන්න පුළුවන් ආලස්සන. හරි right අපි ඒකම ඔබ වැඩේට යමු මේ පේපර්ස් දෙකක් තියෙනවා වැඩේ මම ලෙසන් එක කරලා ඉන්නනේ මම පටන් ගන්න පේපර්ස් දෙක කරමු ලෙසන් එක කරලා ඉන්න right so last week we started some mechanics lesson එක අපි start කරා right so we initiate mechanics and under that අපි kinematics start කරා right so finally so if you remember there are three types of motions in universe you can see three types of motions there. What are those three types of motions? Translational, oscillation and rotation. Then we come back to the translation motion. Translation motion you can classify it into another two types. What are those types? Linear motion or rectilinear motion and curvilinear. Right? So, again, we start kare linear motion ke na part में start linear motion. So we were here linear motion. So after that, I did explain what is the motion. The motion is a change of position of a body or object with relative to the time. Right? If the position of a body changes with the time, we say that body is moving or it is a motion. Right? So when you express the position of a body, what you require, you need a fixed point to. You need a fixed point called origin. Right? This is the fixed point. You need a fixed point to express the position of a body. Right? So the particle P travels like this. At this position, the point A, right? This OA line. This is OA line or OA vector, which is R1, represent the position vector of particle P at A. Right? So after a certain time, suppose the particle P is now at here at B. So this vector, OB vector, which is R2 is a position vector of the particle at B. So if you remember, the line joining AB, this vector is a displacement vector. Right? This vector represents the displacement between A and B. And this is given by the vector R2 minus R1 is a displacement vector. The AB other displacement is given by this vector. Right? So what is displacement? Displacement actually the shortest distance between two positions or two locations. Right? So if you travel between two points or two locations onto a specific direction, right? So that path is, if that path is the shortest path you took, that is the distance. Distance is the shortest length between 2 points, right? Suppose there are two locations A and B, so you can take the shortest path, or either you can take this path to reach to B, right? So you can use these three paths to reach the point B, right? So this AB line, this AB straight line represents the displacement between the length of this AB line, right? Or length of this path number 1 represent the displacement, right? Make a displacement. The length of these paths 2 and 3 that represents the distance between the A and B, right? So displacement is a vector. When you're talking about displacement, it is always directional. Right? If you move, right? If you move onto a certain direction, always that direction is fixed or constant. Right? Direction like the same now. So that is a distance. Right? If I move from this point to here, by keeping my direction same and all the way, right? So that is a displacement. So I can use alternative ways to reach to B, right? I'm going like this, right? So now this is not displacement, right? It is a distance. A path distance. Now this some displacement that is direction, right? But distance one here the direction is different, right? When it comes here, direction is different. When it comes here, direction is this way. So always direction is changing, right? When you talk about distance, the direction of motion is always changing. But when we talk about displacement, direction of motion is always same, right? So that is distance and displacement. Another quantity which will be important in kinematics is velocity. Velocity. Simple V. The symbols are very essential, right? Symbols are, simple V is a symbol for velocity. Actually, distance and displacement. These are the symbols. Displacement normally we denote by simple S. Distance we use symbol D, distance. Right? A simple D can use current. So the unit of the displacement and distance, SI unit is meters. Right? We measure displacement and distance with the unit of meters. Right? Only difference is distance is a scalar, displacement is a vector. Right? So what is velocity? How we define velocity? Rate of change of displacement. Right? So that is velocity. Velocity is defined as velocity is change of displacement over time. So this is the general definition of the velocity. Velocity V equals change of displacement is, suppose the two displacements, displacement final, or you can say S2 minus S1, S2 minus S1 divided by time taken, T2 minus T1. So what is this S2 S1? Right, suppose this is the origin, the way the motion is started, that at time equals T1, the body is at here, the displacement of the body is S1 there. Right? So after the time equals T2, the body has reached this point. The displacement measured from the origin is now S2. Right. So what is the change in displacement? Change in displacement is given by this gap or this length. So which is S2 minus S1. So what is the time taken to elapse this length? This T2 minus T1. So that's velocity. So velocity is a vector. Direction of the velocity is always the direction of the change of displacement. Right? Displacement change again, difference again, velocity. Right? Displacement equal back. Change of displacement. The direction of the velocity is always pointed towards the change of displacement, right? So velocity is a vector. Since the displacement is vector, velocity is also vector. Right. So how we define speed? Sorry, no need of this. Right. So another term is speed. Speed. Also we use symbol V, speed. So how we define speed? Speed is rate of change of distance. So speed is rate of change of distance. Divided by time. Right. So speed, simple V is given by D over T. So unit of the velocity is displacement measured in meters, time measured in seconds, m divided by s. So you can write it as ms minus 1. So unit of the velocity is ms minus 1 and unit of the speed is same unit as the velocity, ms minus 1. Right? Unit is ms minus 1. Sometimes, like in this kinematic lesson, we use this unit. So what is this? This unit is kilometers per hours. We also use kilometers per hours to express velocity or speed, right? So this is called the SI unit. So if the velocities are given as a kilometers per hour, you need to convert that into meters per second, right? Now you know the conversion factor. What is the conversion factor? In order to convert kilometers hours to meters per second, remember that 5/18. You need to multiply this value from 5 divided by 18 to get the meters per second value, right? Okay. So අපි කොතනද හම්බෙන්නේ මේක question එකේ එක මාක් කරගත්තද? ඒක මාක් කරානේ. All right. So for the topic displacement and distance. Displacement and distance. Displacement and distance. Right. Alright. Symbol is simple S. Symbol of displacement is simple S. But then displacement is the shortest straight line, shortest straight line distance from the initial position to the final position. Initial position to the final position of an object. Displacement is a vector quantity. Displacement is a vector quantity. Unit of displacement is meters. Unit of the displacement is meters. Yeah. Displacement is always a directional quantity. Right? Write an example. Example question. A person walks 50 meters to east and 30 meters to west. East 30 meters, sorry. A person walks 50 meters to east and then 30 meters to west. And what is the displacement of the person? What is the displacement of the person? 50 meters to east and then 30 meters to west. That's simple. 50 to west, to east, 30 to west. So, what is the length of the shortest line between final question and initial question? How we get it? Right? He walks 50 meters to 50 meters to, this is the initial question, 50 meters to east. Right? Then turn back and comes another 30 meters to west. So how we get the displacement? Displacement is the this distance between the initial and final position. So this is the final position. This is the initial position. The difference is 50 minus 30, 20 meters. 20 meters. Alright? 20 meters. Right. Now I continue. A person walks 3 meters to east and then 4 meters to north. Right. What is the displacement of this? What is the displacement? Right, simply. 4 meters to where? 4 meters to east, right? 4 meters to east. Sorry, 3 the north, 4 to east. Right? So draw vector diagram. Vector diagram 4 meters to, right? This is the initial question. 4 meters to east, then 3 meters to north. Right? So then what is the displacement? So in order to take the displacement, you need to join the initial question and final question. So this gives you the length of this line. This straight line gives you the displacement. So it is from the Pythagoras theorem. This must be 5 meters. This 5 meters. 5 meters there. Right? Vector knowledge displacement in about vector knowledge. So what is the distance that person has traveled? Distance 7 meters. 7 meters. Right? So what is the distance that person has traveled in here? Person has traveled 50 plus 30, 80. Right? 50 plus 30. So direction of that magnitude is final example. A runner completes one full lap of a circular track and returns to the starting point. Right? If the radius of the track is 70 meters, find the displacement and distance traveled by the runner. Right. Distance and displacement. Both. So what is the displacement? Displacement, sir. Displacement. Why not? Why not they put that? How you find the displacement? The length between the length between the final and initial portion. Okay? We are over there. He has come to the starting point again. So that means displacement is 0. So what is it? Distance he traveled. Distance is the circumference of the circular arc, right? So since the radius is 70 meters, distance d is given by 2 pi r. So 2 pi is 22 over 7, r is 70 meters. 440 meters. 440. Take it down second. 440. Try the next subtopic. Distance. Distance can you about not then distance. So distance is the total length of the distance is the total length of the actual path traveled by an object. Distance is a scalar. Distance is a scalar quantity. But unit is meters. Like, make again, draw this. Right. Take a yellow. Take another yellow. Next topic is velocity. Velocity. Simple V, velocity. Right. Rate of change of displacement. Rate of change of displacement. Displacement per Displacement per unit time is defined as the velocity. Right. So why the definition? Velocity is change of displacement divided by time. Right? Change of displacement divided by time. Change of displacement divided by time. So you can draw this figure and write the expression. Also the unit. Like another expression we are change of displacement is S2 minus S1. So unit is meters per second. Unit is meters per second. Unit is meters per second. Right? Right. Another. Driver got it. You got it. They got it. So unit is meters per second. Right. Put a star mark and write. Velocity is a vector. Velocity is a vector. Velocity is a vector quantity. Velocity is a vector quantity. Direction of the velocity is the direction of the velocity is the direction of the displacement change. Direction of the change of displacement. Direction of the velocity is the direction of change of displacement. स्थापन मेरे से दिशा होती है. Speed. Next topic is speed. Rate of change of distance. Rate of change of distance. Rate of change of distance. Oh. Distance traveled per unit time. Travels per unit time. Is defined as the speed. Defined as the speed. Right. So this is the definition. Speed is change of distance divided by time. So it is V is D over T. The unit is meters per second. Meters per second. So what is this? So what is the average velocity means? Average velocity. Average velocity. Or mean velocity. What is the mean velocity? Average velocity. How we define? Ratio of total displacement done divided by time taken. Right? The total displacement that object has done, we divide it by total time taken. So you get the average velocity. So this is how we define it. Average velocity. Average velocity is equal to total displacement. Total displacement divided by total time taken. Right? So this is how we define average velocity or mean velocity. Total displacement over total time taken. Right? Then what is average speed? Average speed. Total distance traveled divided by total time taken. Average speed total distance from the you have from to here, right? Divide by the time. Take a displacement narrow due to the obstacles, buildings, barriers, displacement so within two time path distance time so we have the average speed. Average speed, right? So get the total displacement displacement time total average velocity. Right? Like topic average velocity. Average velocity. Like average velocity. Ratio of the total displacement. Total displacement done by an object to the total time taken to complete the motion, complete its motion, complete the motion is defined as average velocity. Right. So this is average velocity. Write the definition in words, right? And also with that, write this average speed. Average speed. Make question here. Like this is average speed. Average speed is total distance traveled divided by total time taken. Right. Okay. So then the next topic is the initial part of this lesson is all about the definitions. There are a number of definitions we need to know, right? Thereafter, right? Before we move on to the kinematic equations, we need to identify what are the symbols and how they what are the definitions of them. ඒක අපි දැනගන්න ඕනේ. නැත්නම් නිකම් එකපාරට අපි කියන equations වලට ඒක meaning එක දන්නේ නැතුව බෑ. Right? ඒ නිසා අපි මුලින් චුට්ටක් අපිට මේ චුට්ටි චුට්ටක් අපි ගොඩක් ඉදින් මේ වැඩේ කරගෙන යමු. Right. The next topic is uniform velocity. Uniform velocity. Right? So each of these quantities have meaning. Each of these terms, they have some significance in kinematics. But that's why I'm giving all these are to you. Right. So what is uniform velocity? Uniform velocity. Uniform velocity. What is uniform velocity? Yes. Expansion of the uniform velocity. What is it? Right. How do you define uniform velocity? How the uniform velocity different from the velocity or mean velocity? It was a T0. Kita මොකක්ද uniform velocity එකක් කියලා. කොහොමද ඔයාලා ඒක experience කරලා තියෙනවද? highway එකේදී cruise කරලා තියෙනවද? vehicle එකක් cruise නෑ. ඒක නෑ. The accelerator එක අපි එකම level එකට තියන් යද්දී the speed එකේ අර index එක එකම point එකේ තියෙනවනේ. එකම speed එක යා අපිට measure digital meter එක න එකම speed එක maintain වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ if the body travels same distance or same if the body elapses same displacements in similar time intervals, right? So after every 1 second the displacement changes is same, right? Displacement change again come on. I'm not upgrading the way change, right? Suppose the displacement change of a body is 5 meters after 1 second and it maintains that throughout this motion. Always the displacement change during 1 second interval is 5 meters. The speed is uniform there, or velocity is uniform there. Right? If the body maintains, or if the body travels equal, if the body does equal displacement, right? In equal time intervals, we say the velocity of the body is uniform. එකම කාලවලදී එකම විස්ථාපනයක් කියන්නේ. Right? So it is the uniform velocity. ඒකට කියනවා uniform velocity. So what is uniform speed? Speed එකක් කියන්නේ මොකද ලියුවා වෙන්නේ? term එක වෙනස් වෙනවා නේ. displacement කියන term එකට අපි use කරන්නේ මොකද්ද? distance. If a body travels equal distances in equal time intervals, right? Speed of the body is uniform. Then the next term is instantaneous velocity. Instantaneous. Instantaneous velocity. What is instantaneous velocity? Instantaneous velocity is the velocity of a body at that moment, at that particular time. Right? If a body is moving like this, if you take a particular time, the velocity at that time is the instantaneous velocity of the body. Velocity. It is not the average velocity. Displacement period displacement when time interval there's no time interval there, right? Velocity at that moment or at particular time is known as instantaneous velocity. So we can define it like this. This is the path of the body moving. This is origin. Suppose at the time equals simple t, the body is at here. Right? Now, we take a very, very small time interval of delta t, which means when the body at this point, the time is t plus delta t. This delta, if we use simple delta for symbolize very, very small meaning. Small can delta use. If the time is very, very small, we use it as delta t. Right. So after time delta t, the body has moved from this point to here. We take this displacement of the body is delta s. Delta s means very, very small displacement. Right? So if it is so, the instantaneous velocity of the body at this point when the time equals t, we write it as this, right? Don't be afraid. Make biological part, don't fear. These are mathematical symbols, right? So this term is not limit. Limit limitation. Limit තියෙනවා අපි මේ maths වලදී සාමෝගලේ කතා කරන හැටි. මේක මතක තියාගන්න මම පස්සේ කියන්න. right. So limit when delta t goes to 0, delta s divided by delta t. So this is the notation. Actually, this is a notation, right? Overthink करने बाद this is only a notation. This symbolizes when the delta t goes to 0, small displacement change divided by small, right? So in calculus notation, we write this as this whole term. You can write this as ds over dt, right? The first derivative of time of displacement, ds over dt, right? Actually, this is not a very difficult thing, right? Make become daga lecture. Come with the other limit, right? We take the limit of the delta s over delta t when delta t goes to 0. Delta t goes to 0 means what happens with time period? When delta t goes to 0, but when delta t is 0, time is equal to t. Time is equal to delta t is 0 time is equal to t. That represents the velocity when time equals t. That's it, right? To make calculations, just we need to define this. That's all. Nothing after this, right? Make a metric how they can now make symbolize velocity. It was visible make maths. If you are doing mathematics in applied mathematics, there's a lesson straight line motion then you will use this. But in physics, no need of further using of this equation. So instantaneous velocity means velocity of a body at that particular time. So we can define it using mathematical symbols like this. Right? That's all. It's right. Nothing beyond that. Questions or derivatives are calculus use physics calculus use calculus integrations differentiation somehow physics terms mathematical symbols use calculation right? Okay, right. Uniform velocity. Right under it. An object is said to be have an object is said to be have if it complete equal displacements equal displacements in equal time intervals in the same direction right. The next topic is uniform speed. Uniform speed. Uniform speed. An object said to be have uniform speed if it covers equal distances in equal time intervals. Right. The next topic is instantaneous velocity. Right. But definition an instantaneous velocity and instantaneous velocity is the velocity of an object at a particular time right. So here how we define the instantaneous velocity. Draw the figure. Right. तो यहाँ पे कब यूज करा नए वर्ड के सामान्य तरह मैंने अपने वे so if the body is placed delta is small amount of displacement over delta t time තමයි definitions දැන් නේ like අපි example එකක් පොඩි එකක් ලියනවා mean velocity mean speed පොඩ්ඩක් ඔය practice mean velocity or mean speed practice කරලා පොඩි examples එකක් ලියලා a motor car travels half of a distance of its total distance with the speed of 30 meters per second. And it travels the other half with a speed of 50 meters per second. Right. Find the average speed of the car. Find the average speed of the car. Right. Draw a small diagram and try to solve. I finish. No. Answer. No problem. What is what? What is the answer? Right? Nanti terus kan diagram tadi kan. But in this kinematic lesson, you need to draw a small. You need to do a small rough work, right? Okay, gimana? Rough diagram tadi kan. Mana? Itu mana? Baik, buka langsung. One second, no. $37.5. Ano 37.5? No. Right. May matter. Nagkapaano kita chutar sa dalawang may mga kadto dito. Kita naman basic na dito na. Right. Parang the bottom half travels half of its full distance. Half. Suppose the full distance is s. So it travels s over 2 distance with a speed of 30, which means during this distance all the way, it maintains the same speed up to here. And then from here onwards, the speed has changed to 50. The final half of the motion, it travels with the speed of 50. Right. Now go back to the expression we obtained for the average speed. So how we define average speed? Total distance divided by total time. Right. So average speed, V average is equal to total distance is s over 2 plus s over 2. Total distance is s. So what is the total time taken by this vehicle to cover these distances? Suppose the time taken to cover this half is t1 and the second half is t2. So total time it took is t1 plus t2. t1 plus t2 is the total time. Then some time make a time t1, make a t2. Total time is t1 and t2. So now try to write expressions for t1 in terms of distance and speed. So how do you define speed? Speed is distance over time. That speed of the first half 30. 30 is equal to distance is s over 2 divided by time t1. So subject t1 from here. S over 2 divided by 30. This is T1. Right? Right. Similarly, you can write an expression for this speed 50. 50 is distance S over 2 divided by T2. So T2 is S over 2 times 50. Now you can substitute the expression you obtain to T1 and T2 here. S divided by T1 is S divided by 2 times 30 plus S divided by 2 times 50. Now solve this. Because of the S is a common factor, you can cancel S and get the value. Right? So you cannot get the average velocity or average speed by taking the mean value here. Oh, majority of you have chosen this way. 30 plus 50 divided by 2. This is true when the speed of the object continuously or uniformly changing. It has acceleration there. The velocity uniformly change. If the velocity change uniformly, so you can apply that expression by get the average value of the final initial speeds and divided by 2, right? But here it is not the case. This half has traveled the same velocity throughout, and the other half is different velocity. So average velocity do not give by that expression. 30 plus 50 over 2 in the end. Maybe the area. So that is 7.5 now. But you can cancel this S here. 1 divided by 1 over 60 plus 1 over 100. Take the least common multiple is 600. 600. The 600 60 was 10. 100 was 6. Yeah. 600 divided by 60. 60 was 16, 3, 48. 120 was 70. 7 1 12. 80 was 5. 80 was 5. 37.5. Answer. Right, then make it in a ප්‍රශ්නයක ඉතන උත්තරේ නෙවෙයි හරියටම double check කරන්න ඕනේ. සමහර ලේසි මත සමහර අමාරු ඉඳලා අමාරු නෑ. ඒකද? පොඩ ඩීප් විතර ගත්තත් බෑ. ඕන්ට වඩා හිතුවත් බෑ. නොහිතත් බෑ. පොඩා ඩෙප්ත් එකේ ඉඳලා මේක වෙන්න පුළුවන් එහෙම වුණත් හදන්නත් එහෙමත් තමයි ඉන්න සමහර අය. හිතනවා ඒක සම් ෆිසික්ස් වල අපි assumptions එක කියන්නේ ඒවලට ගොඩක් ඒවා ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් සමහරට වෙන්නේ නැති වෙනවා බට් ඒ ලෙවල් එකේ තියෙන ඔල සිලබස් එක ගත්තද ඒක මොන හරි ලෙවල් එකකට මේ ලෙවල් එකට ඒකේ questions එන්නේ යුනිවර්සිටි ලෙවල් එකේ මම PhD ලෙවල් එකේ නෙවෙයි මේකට questions අහන්නේ නේ ඒතර අපිට ඉච්චර ඩෙප්ත් එකකට ගිහින් හිතන්න බෑ සමහර දේවල් වැරදි කියලා හිතෙන්න පුළුවන් සමහරට ඕක යන්නේ එහෙම නම් ඒ ලෙවල් එකේ හිතන්න ගොඩක් assumptions එක්ක අපි මේ වැඩේ කරන්නේ හරි ඊළඟ example එක. An object travels half of time of its total time period. Total time period with an velocity, with an velocity, with an velocity of 20 meters per second, and rest of the time, it travels with an velocity of 30 meters per second. With an velocity 30 meters per second. Find the average velocity of the object. Find the average velocity of the object. Average velocity of the object. Okay, let me from the previous example. Previous example. Now we talk about time. Time is half length. What is distance? Half of the time here. Half of the total time. Half of the total time of motion. Answer? 20? Oh, no. 25. 25. Answer must be 25. Eh? 25. Right. Anyone else? 25 is the answer. Right. Then time became bargain can either. So suppose the total time of this motion is simple t. Right. First half of the time it has 20 meters per second velocity. Right. Suppose the distance covered is or displacement done during this time interval is s1. Right. Time is t over 2. Simple T is the total time. In the other T, the rest of the time, it travels with 30 meters per second speed. So suppose the displacement there is S2 and time is T over 2. Time is T over 2. Right. Then my average velocity is total displacement divided by total time. Total time is T divided by 2 times, plus T divided by 2, right? Actual total time again T. T divided by 2 plus total time is T. Right? Total time is T. Right, now try to write an expressions for S1 and S2 in terms of speed and time. S1, S2 expression we need a numerical value, so we need to remove these terms and try to substitute values or try to write an expression for S1 and S2 in terms of numbers and T. Right, so how do you write S1? Speed or velocity is displacement divided by time. Velocity into speed is 20. Displacement is S1. Time is T divided by 2. So S1 is 20 times T divided by 2. Similarly, 30 can be written in terms of S2 and T. S2 is 30 times T divided by 2. Right now, substitute values here. 20 times T divided by 2 plus 30 times T divided by 2. Right? T divided by 2 plus T divided by T. 20 divided by 2 is 10. 30 divided by 2 is 15. 10 T plus 15 T is 25 times T divided by T. T cancel and all. Answer is 25 meters per second. Right. 20 times T divided by 2. 10 times T. What are they? Answer. Method is right. 24. subject करे S1 या मैं sorry ठीक है sorry कर दीजिए तो बहुत अच्छा है right right the next topic acceleration कर दीजिए तो वन तक करेंगे वो कर सकते हो नहीं बस यो 10 देखो देखिए वैल्यू कर लो अरे को 15 है right acceleration symbol is simple a acceleration so what is acceleration if the velocity of an object increasing or changing with the time right so rate of change of velocity is defined as acceleration change of velocity divided by time is acceleration so acceleration is also a vector right so acceleration vector direction of the acceleration vector is the direction of the velocity change right velocity change के direction है बताइए acceleration के direction है n so we define acceleration this is the definition of the acceleration change of velocity divided by time but this change of velocity you can write this as final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time right so acceleration a is final velocity divided by initial velocity sorry final velocity minus initial velocity divided by t this is a vector units of the acceleration units velocity change is meters per second divided by time meters per square seconds units write the definition acceleration rate of change of velocity is acceleration rate of change of velocity is acceleration rate of change of velocity is acceleration okay write down acceleration change of velocity over time so change of velocities or change in velocities final velocity minus initial velocity over time final velocity minus initial velocity over time unit is meters per square second acceleration is a vector acceleration is a vector acceleration is a vector direction of direction of the acceleration, direction of the acceleration is the same direction of velocity change, is the same direction of the velocity change. Direction of the acceleration is the same direction that of the velocity change. But acceleration there are two. We can classify the accelerations in two types: positive accelerations and negative accelerations. Right? Positive accelerations are and negative accelerations. Right? We say acceleration is positive when positive velocity increasing. Acceleration is positive. Velocity has a sign positive and negative. Right? If the positive velocity is increasing, body in the speed velocity there's a positive acceleration. Right? When the negative velocity is decreasing, negative velocity is acceleration is positive. Right? If the positive velocity decreases, positive velocity can be not acceleration is negative. If the negative velocity is increasing, negative velocity increases, acceleration negative. After acceleration define sign right? This is where the acceleration is positive. Suppose here's the origin, right? So when in kinematics, always we keep a reference point and we measure distances and velocities reference to this point, right? So when you measure the displacement, you need to take consider direction where the displacement are positive and opposite for the opposite direction displacements are negative. So more often we choose, if they are this origin, we take the positive x direction. Positive x direction is the positive displacement direction, right? When the displacement done to the opposite direction from the origin, consider as negative displacements. Suppose object is starting from here and moves towards this direction, which means displacement are positive. If it moves towards the opposite direction, displacement are negative. Right? But when the positive displacement, if the positive displacements are increasing, that means body moves in this direction. The velocity is positive. Right? If the body moves, this is the reference point. Now body moves towards the positive displacement, direction of positive displacement. That means velocity is positive. Its velocity is positive because positive displacement are increasing. Displacement change is always positive, which as a result, velocity is positive. Right? If the body moves to the opposite direction, then the velocities are negative. They are negative. These are considered negative velocities. Right? Body velocity is negative. It is negative velocity. There are negative velocity. Direction is changed. The direction of the velocity is changed. And this velocity also negative one. This is negative velocity. Right? This is also negative one. The velocity of this body, it is positive. This is positive velocity. Direction negative one. For the negative displacement, negative displacement is negative displacement. It is a possible change. So velocity is positive. Right? When the positive velocity is increasing, that means body moves with increasing velocity towards this direction. Acceleration is positive. Acceleration is positive. A case like this. And body starting from here and it moves with increasing velocity towards this direction. Then the acceleration is say positive. This is positive acceleration. The positive velocity is increasing. And then the displacement that means positive velocity is increasing. Velocity change is positive and it is increasing. So acceleration is positive. Now body is coming from here with increasing velocity towards this direction, towards this here. So what is the acceleration here? Sign of the acceleration. Positive or negative? Positive or negative? Is moving with the direction towards the origin with an increasing speed. Increasing velocity kicking here. See that here? If the body moves this side, velocities are positive. Sign of velocities are positive. So now this is positive velocity is increasing. So it is positive acceleration. Acceleration is positive. Right. Then, if body moves like this, so what is the sign of the acceleration? The positive velocity is decreasing. Positive velocity is decreasing, which means final velocity is less than the initial velocity. The velocity difference is negative. Make a body. Velocity change is negative. Then acceleration is negative. This type of motion, acceleration is negative. So we have a special name for this kind of a motion. This kind of acceleration is special name. What is it? Deceleration or retardation. So this is retardation. Right? Or deceleration. Mangane kelegena. Mangane. Make I didn't know we done them explain right. If the body moves like this, what is the sign of the acceleration? Negative. So the negative velocity is increasing. Yeah? Side velocity is negative. Negative velocity is increasing. So acceleration is negative. Although the velocity, magnitude of the velocity increases, but the negativeness, negative will be very negative increase velocity. Right? So acceleration is negative. You could be here. Correct. Acceleration and acceleration classified into two types. First one is positive acceleration. Positive acceleration. The second one is negative acceleration. Right. Next point. Deceleration is the negative acceleration. Deceleration is a negative acceleration. My question is, does all the negative accelerations are decelerations? Yes or no? All the negative accelerations are decelerations. Is it true or no? Only these type of negative accelerations are called decelerations. Speed but here acceleration is negative, but this is not a deceleration. මේක බොඩි එකේ ස්පීඩ් එක එන්න වැඩි වෙනවා. හැබැයි නෙගටිව්ලි වැඩි වෙනවා. මේක ගිහිල්ලා රෙස්ට් එකට එන්නේ නැහැ. එන්නේ ඉන්ක්‍රීස් වෙමින් මෙහෙට යන්නේ. Right? This is not a deceleration. This is a negative acceleration, but not a deceleration. This is a negative acceleration, but also deceleration. Deceleration එක කරනවා බොඩි එක ගිහිල්ලා ටික ටික යන ස්පීඩ් එක magnitude එක velocity එක අඩු වෙවි යනවා. මේක එහෙම නෙවෙයි. මේක increase වෙනවා. So this is negative acceleration, but not a deceleration. Right? Remember it, right? Deceleration is a negative acceleration, that is true, but only negative accelerations are not decelerations. Right, finally, uniform acceleration. Uniform acceleration. Uniform acceleration. If the velocity change of the body, if the velocity change of the body if the velocity change of the body velocity change of a body remain constant for equal time intervals. For equal time intervals. For equal time intervals of the motion. Then the acceleration is uniform. Acceleration is uniform. Right. So that means the velocity change is constant for all the time intervals, or all the equal time intervals. Velocity change per second is always same. Hammer second leg the velocity change by 2, right? 2 meters second. Hammer second leg number passe velocity 2 meters per second the change. Can be him. අපි ගත්තොත් cable එකක්. So this is uniform acceleration. මෙන්න මෙහෙමයි. Right. So this is time and velocity. Right. Right. So after the first second, the velocity change is 2. Right here, the change of velocity is 2. Right. Between the 2 seconds and 1 second and 2 seconds, the same time interval, the change of velocity is 2 also. Yep. After within 2 and 3 seconds, change of velocity is 2. Here, change of velocity is 2. Change of velocity is 2. So the acceleration is uniform. Change of velocity is equal. Right? But if I have the order වෙන්නේ ඉස්සරහට දැන් කයි ඊට පස්සේ අපි ගන්න kinetic equations start කරනවා. So ඒක තමයි knowledge එක ඕනේ වෙන්නේ. Right, අපි මේක කොහොමද යාගෙන අපි break එකට යමු. ඊට පස්සේ අපි kinematics equations වලට අපි ගන්න start කරනවා. ඒක බලකපත් කරමුද නේ? Right, අපි ඉන්ටර්නෙට් එක break කරගෙන අපි 650 start කරමු.